Welcome everybody. Today I'm going to do a walkthrough of the SplineGenerator C++ class that I developed in another video. Somebody was asking me about it, saying that they were having trouble getting it to work in Unreal Engine version 4.26. So what I'm doing today is basically created a test project in Unreal 4.262, and I am going to take the code that I posted out on GitHub and integrate it into this project and just see what, if any, issues there are. They were saying they could not get it to actually work properly. It wasn't displaying the spline. So I'm just going to go through the process of what I would do and just see what sort of issues pop out. See if I can get it to work. You will see later on that I did find a bug in the code where I have a local variable name that is what's the right term? Shadowed. It's overshadowing a member variable. And I'm not sure how it actually worked the first time around, but it obviously did. But I just renamed that variable and then everything seemed to work okay. I also show you how to model just a mesh, a very simple mesh. That's like a pipe using Blender. And then I also create a very simple material to stick on that mesh. So it's a little bit of a longer video than I wanted, but I figured I'd just go through the whole process in case someone was interested. Just to see, how I would do things. I hope you enjoyed today. So I'm just going to kind of comment as I'm going through here what I'm doing. So right now I'm just going to go out. I'm pulling up the source code from GitHub, and I'm looking at the SplineGenerator. You'll notice I created a C++ class with the exact same name that I used in the GitHub source code. So what I'm doing is, see where it says Spline API right there? That's I think it's the namespace which you have to update to match your project. So what I'm going to do is cut and paste all this code here. So I'm just going to copy this. Alright. I'm going to come back here and just overwrite everything in this project. Or not the project, but in this file. Just paste all that. Everything looks good, and you'll see I'm going to update the namespace name here. Instead of Ember, I'm going to rename it to Spline, but I typoed it. So I need to go back and fix it and put an S in the beginning. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the C++ file. I'm just going to copy everything in here. Yep. Come back here and paste all this in. Try to get a build and see if, it builds cleanly. It does not. I've noticed in the past that sometimes when you first build it, you just need to build it a couple times to get rid of weird stuff like that begin play error and the other thing. So just give it another build, see if everything works. And this is where I found the issue with the hidden class member. So you see I have a local variable named scale, and it's hiding. And this is where I go back to the header file to see exactly what it's hiding, because I didn't realize that was going on there. So I'm kind of puzzled, trying to figure it out. And so now I go, oh, let's go look in the header. And sure enough, there is a member variable called scale. And so yeah, so it's hiding that variable. So what I do is I just go back and change the local variable name. Instead of scale, I just took off the L and the E and just called it SCA, just to match the three letters that I was doing on the other two. I'm just still trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to do here. Alright. So, come on, buddy, you can do it. Ah, yes, okay. So now get rid of these two letters, so now the variable name won't hide the member variable. Alright. And let's go ahead and compile again. Save and compile. Alright, one build succeeded, so that's good. So now what I do is I go back to Unreal, and I'm still never exactly sure exactly when you use the compile here versus the other one, but I recompiled here, and then in the classes I'm going to search for the C++ class that we created, which is called SplineGenerator. And there it is, so excellent. So I grab it, I'm going to drag it down into the project. And the weird part is I don't see the pivot. Oh, there it is. I guess it is. No, that's the sky blueprint. So what I did is I couldn't see the pivot, so I just restarted Unreal. And here you see me just running the local debugger, so if I needed to, I could actually debug the C++ code. And it goes ahead and launches the Unreal Editor. And so I come back in, I select our spline generator, and now I can see the pivot point for it. So I'm just going to drag that up so it's not below the floor. I don't know why I was so careful about putting it on the floor here, but whatever. So now what I'm trying to do is, here's our settings for our spline component, and the first thing you need is a mesh. So the mesh that I'm going to use, I'm just going to go ahead and create one. I could have just used a default one. I don't know why. I don't know why I went through the trouble of doing this. I think I wanted to show you that basically when you export your mesh out, you have it facing in the X direction. You'll see on the spline generator you can actually change the direction in which the mesh faces. But anyway, I just create a cylinder. I'm going to create a pipe looking thing. So I create a cylinder, and then I rotate it to be on the X-axis, facing the X-axis, and that way when I export it, I'm going to have the forward direction is on the X, the up axis is on the Z. Here I'm going to go in. Yeah, I really don't know why I went through all the trouble of this. I could have just used a plain cylinder, but I kind of wanted you to see that you can change the segment length in the spline generator, and that controls how the mesh is displayed. So I wanted it to actually have sort of a, I don't know what you call it, like a corrugated pipe look where there's ridges in it. So all I'm doing is just adding some loop cuts. Thinking very deeply here. I'm just kidding, by the way. I don't know. It's like staring at a squirrel outside the window or something. So yeah, so I do some loop cuts, and then I'm going to grab the center faces and scale them down so you get that sort of dip in the middle. Yeah, so now you see you get kind of, we're building like one segment, and then we're going to string all these together on the spline. Looks pretty good. All right, and then I decide, again, I don't know why I went through all the effort of this. I should have just stuck with that. It would have been just as good of a tutorial, but so now I'm going to shade it smooth, and you'll see that when you do that, it kind of loses some of its definition. So what I do is I go back in here and I start applying sharp seams to some of the edges, and that way it will make the smooth shading have a little bit more definition. I tried doing an edge split modifier here that I've used in the past, and that can work, but it wasn't quite giving the look that I wanted. And I'm not an expert in Blender. I've spent a lot of time in it, but it's not something I do like every single day. So anyway, so I abandoned the edge split modifier, and now I'm just going to go ahead and apply the sharp seams. So in my first attempt here, I just made everything sharp, and then I put an edge split modifier on it again, and that's wasn't the look that I was actually looking for. So I didn't like this. Now what did I do? Oh, I just yeah. I went back and got rid of all the sharp seams. Okay. So I did that. And now I'm gonna grab just the edges that I'm looking for. And here's where I realize I don't have I've got the face selector turned on. Okay. It's always pretty humorous to watch yourself fumble through this stuff. So I turned on X-ray mode, grabbed all the edges, marked the seam sharp. I'm gonna do the same over on this side. Go back and look at it again, and you can see that that edge now looks sharp, which is good. So now I'm going to do just these inside ones. Mark that sharp. I still have my edge split modifier on. Also, let's go back. Okay, that's looking a little better. That's what I'm looking for. Alright, just for giggles, I go back in and I add some more seams on the outside here. Beautiful. And then here, I'm going to go back in and inset the edges here to make it look like a pipe. So I grab those, hit I for inset. Alright, so yeah, that looks good to me. Again, I really don't know why I went through all this effort, but at least you get a little modeling tutorial as well. So then what I'm going to do is hit E for extrude and extrude on the x-axis so that I can move it inward. But I have both sides selected, so when I move this side in, the other side's getting moved out. So I have to go back and fix that. Yep. So now I just select this face, which unselects the other face. Go to move, and then just push this side in. There you go. So now both sides look like, you know, part of a pipe or something like that. I guess I could have pushed it way in. They'd really look like a pipe, but... Alright, so I'm just going to save my Blender file. Give it a super creative name called pipe. Save that out. And now I'm going to select my object. Looks pretty good to me. The normals are all, or not the normals, but the UV mapping's all crazy, but you can fix that later. So I'm going to export just the selected object, change the forward axis to X, the Z axis to up, and that's basically it. Everything looks good. Export, yep. So now we go back into Unreal, and then I drug the FBX and imported it, and then I drag the import into here, so now you can see here's my model. So I know at a minimum that the pipe looks okay by itself, and now I'm going to set the pipe on the spline generator to the mesh. For that I set it to the pipe that we created, but you see how it's the size of it is much smaller. So the segment length is 100 on the spline generator, so you see how it sort of shrinks down the mesh itself. So here I kind of forgot. I'm moving the mesh out, but I'm trying to figure out why the mesh isn't getting any bigger, and the reason it's not getting any bigger is because the segment length I've identified is 100, so it's just limiting to that. So here I duplicate, okay, and now I'm just dragging this out, and so as it drags it out, it replicates that mesh along the spline, and it's working, you know, as expected. So I just make it a little bit bigger. Looks good. You notice we don't have a material yet, and if you change the segment length again, you know, you can see now you have lots of little teeny ones, or if you make it bigger, it stretches it out and makes it longer. So that's kind of the beauty of the whole spline is you can change the length along the segment like that. So now what I'm going to do is create a material. Just a very basic material. If you've never done this, it'll be new, but super basic. Here I'm thinking I'm just going to grab a material from Quixel Megascans, but I just decided to create a basic material. So what I'm going to do is just give it a base color. So I just drag that out. It's a constant 3 vector. Okay. The next thing is whether it's metallic. So 1 is metallic, 0 is non-metallic. So in my case, I'm going to make it a metal pipe, so it's a 1. Okay. The color is still black, which is why it looks that way. roughness, so you drag that out, constant. In this case, I am going, 1 is fully rough, 0 is perfectly smooth, so I just set it somewhere in the middle. And I'm going to lighten up the color instead of black to a gray. There you go. And that is the most basic material you can make. Save that bad boy. Okay, so now I have my material selected. Come back here and assign it. And now we get a our pipe. And it's got our material on it, so it looks pretty good to me. I don't see any issues. So now I'm just going to play around with it just a bit, stretch it out. I'm going to grab the point in the middle and stretch it up. Everything seems to be working as expected. So yeah. So I'm just going to create another spline point. Yeah, drag that around. I'm going to take this one and rotate it. So I select it, the spline point, and grab that. See how it rotates. Yeah, so everything looks like it's doing great. So anyway, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any problems, let me know. Leave a comment below if you like this, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.